Hello and welcome to Keeping Runners on the Road. My name is Dr. Cameron Garber. I'm here with Dr. Mark Humbert, and we are bringing you some of our winter training tips, or cold weather training tips. Really important to get some things right here so that we don't blow up our winter training season. Definitely it's a time where a lot of people take some more time off and take it a little bit more easy, and that's totally okay. But we want to make sure that you continue your training so your body has the resilience that it needs to start off next season great, and we don't take too much time off to where everything gets weak and we wind up with an injury starting off next season. So what are some of the things that you can do to stay healthy and stay on the road? Well, first off, I'd like to say, what are some of your winter training tips? What are the things that help you the very most? I'd love to hear what you do. Drop those in the comments down below. And I'd love to kind of hear what you guys all do to stay fit, healthy, and keep running during the winter. Some of the things that really help me, one is to really monitor the air quality. That can be a tricky thing. Here in Utah especially, we live in a bowl with all the mountains, and the air quality gets really bad sometimes. And so making sure that I'm not compromising my lungs, especially during this COVID time, that can be really tricky, so that I don't compromise my lungs and put myself at increased risk. What are some of the winter training tips that you to follow?
Same thing, right? I think it's really easy to get into the place where it's okay, I got to do this consistently for my body, right? We've talked a lot about that, right? Keeping that consistency in. But maybe it's good for your muscles, your tendons, ligaments, right? Keeping that load tolerance up. But if it's just doing damage to your lungs over time, ultimately it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so definitely take a look at the air quality. A couple things that I will do is either run inside, or a lot of times I know it takes a little bit extra time, but it ends up being a fun trip for me. I'll take a trip up to Morgan, right? Get above that inversion where it's nice and sunny, where the air is a little bit clearer, and do some activity out there.
Yeah.
So I think that's one great way to kind of deal with that.
Right, definitely. And maybe watch the temperature too. Sometimes different people's lungs are affected differently by really cold weather. And so a harder effort when the air is really cold can sometimes it feels like it sears your lungs a little bit. So be careful with that too, so you're not setting yourself back or giving yourself kind of that cough that you can get in the winter after a hard training session.
For sure, that's worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing that I think is important is making sure that you are building a warm up and a cool down into the sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
So that can be super hard. Well, one, right? If you're time crunched, it's just I want to get this pace, or I want to get this mileage in, or whatever it is. But also when you add in, it's cold outside.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to cool down if I'm not really moving.
Yeah, exactly. But I think just the importance from, getting your body prepared to meet the demands of the exercise is really important. So still taking that time to warm up and then to cool down, just so your body has the chance to have those little adaptations that need to occur to help you get the most out of your session and most out of the exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that is so important about cooling down especially is that most cardiac events that happen associated with cardiovascular exercise, so heart attack, stroke, things like that, actually happen right after we stop by stopping too quickly and not taking enough of a cool down. The heart and lungs are still pumping, trying to balance out the pH in your blood because we've made it acidic with lactic acid and carbon dioxide and all those things in the blood. And so we're breathing heavily, heart's still pumping, but then the muscles are saying, I don't need that much oxygen anymore, so we're good. And so often your blood vessels will dilate, and especially in the cold, because they're already cold, and so your body's trying not to shunt away a lot of the heat to the limbs. So those blood vessels dilate, or constrict, and there's nowhere for the blood to go, even though the heart and lungs are still working hard. And so it creates a lot of what we call afterload on the heart, because there's nowhere for that blood to go, even though your heart's pumping. And so it puts a lot more load on the heart. Essentially, you think of it as a pump trying to push water into a tank that's already full, and it just overloads the pump, and it increases your risk of cardiac events. And so taking a cool down, even though it's cold, can be really, really important to make sure you don't have some heart-related problems during your training. So Cool down's really, really
Super
important.
important.
Yeah. So, honestly, one of the biggest things you can do to stay on the road during this winter time is make sure you're doing some things for your health, like making sure you're not compromising your lungs or your heart during your training by getting a proper warm-up, cool down, and checking that air quality, and maybe training inside or mixing up what you're doing for your training so that you can stay healthy, stay on the road, like we'd like all runners to do. That's why we're here at Body Smart, is to help runners just like you stay healthy, know what to do for their body. That's why we're called Body Smart, so that we can help people know what to do for their body to stay healthy and fit and stay on the road. So thank you so much. Again, I would love to hear some of the things you do to make winter training successful for you, and how you kind of manipulate your environment to make it work for you so that you can get the mileage in and the time and enjoy doing what you love to do, which is getting out there and running. So drop your tips down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.